and please stick around. I'm not going to even shame you into liking this video or even subscribing. Recently I purchased this Garmin 64ST GPS for geocaching purposes only, and it led me to wonder, how well will this perform compared with older GPSs that I've acquired over the years? Once again, it's going to be strictly just for geocaching only. How well does this work in the field compared with older GPSs, which you can buy online now for under $50. Most of them are around about $30, $35. And this particular model cost me $225. It was his list price for $335 or somewhere in that order, and I got it on Amazon. It was an open box deal, so I paid $225 for it, which is pretty much the going rate for used 64ST GPS from Garmin. So anyway, let's take a look at the competition to see how this will stack up with other GPSs. This is our first GPS. It's actually our oldest. It's a Garmin 45, and it was built roughly in about the mid-1990s. It takes 4 AA batteries, and with the batteries it weighs about 29 grams or 10 ounces, and the size is about 5 by 21 centimeters, which is about 2 inches by 6 inches. This is our second GPS. It's a Magellan 3000. It's built in the mid-1990s. It takes 4 AA batteries, and it weighs 310 grams with the batteries, which is approximately 11 ounces. Its size is 6 by 16.5 centimeters, which is approximately 2.5 inches by 6.5 inches. This is our third GPS. It's a Lowrance Map 100. It's actually our heaviest GPS at 350 grams or 12 ounces. It takes 4 AA batteries, and it was built in the mid-1990s. The size is about 5 by 15 centimeters or 2 by 6 inches. Our fourth GPS is a Magellan Blazer 12. This was built roughly about 1998. It takes 2 AA batteries. It weighs 170 centimeters or roughly 6 ounces. The size is about 5 by 15 centimeters or roughly about 2 by 6 inches, including the antenna. Our fifth GPS is also a Magellan. It was a follow-up to the Blazer 12. It's the Magellan 315, which came out in 1999. It takes 2 AA batteries. It weighs 180 grams or approximately 6 ounces. The size is 5 by 15 centimeters, which is roughly by 2 by 6 inches, including the antenna. Our sixth GPS is a Lowrance iFinder Go. It was built in the early 2000s. It takes 2 AA batteries. It weighs 160 grams or approximately 5.5 ounces. The size is about 5 by 13 centimeters or roughly about 2 by 5 inches. This is our seventh GPS. It's a Magellan Sport Track, built in the early 2000s. It takes 2 AA batteries. It weighs 160 grams or roughly 5.5 ounces. The size is 5 by 13 centimeters or roughly 2 by 5 inches. The eighth GPS is a Cobra 1000, once again built in the early 2000s. It takes 2 AA batteries, and it weighs 210 grams or roughly 7.5 ounces. Its size is 6 by 15 centimeters or roughly 2.5 by 6 inches. Our next GPS is actually our lightest and smallest. It's a Garmin Gecko 201 built in approximately 2006. It takes 2 AAA batteries. It weighs 80 grams or 3 ounces, and the size is about 4 by 10 centimeters or 1 3/4 by 4 inches. Our next GPS is a Magellan Triton, built in 2007 roughly. It takes 2 AA batteries. It weighs about 180 grams or 6.5 ounces. The size is about 5 by 12 centimeters or roughly 2¼ by 4¾ inches. Our 11th and final GPS is a Garmin eTrex Vista H, built in approximately 2007. Takes 2 AA batteries. It weighs 150 grams or roughly 5 ounces. The size is 5 by 11 centimeters, which is approximately 2 by 4½ inches. Just to give you some information on the Garmin 64ST, I believe this model first came out in 2014. Takes 2 AA batteries. This one weighs about 210 grams or 7½ ounces. And the size is roughly about 6 by 16 centimeters or 2¼ by 6¼ inches, including the antenna. Okay, that's our lineup for this exercise. So what I'm going to do is take all the GPSs out into the field. First of all, I'm going to see how quickly they will lock into satellites, and so how quickly you can actually use the GPS. Then I'm going to take them into 3 different areas. I'm going to take them into a completely cleared open space, see how they perform there. Then I'll take them into a partially covered area, see how they perform. And then finally I will take them into a covered area, most probably into a wooded area, to see how they perform under cover. Once again, this exercise is strictly for finding a geocache. It's just for geocaching only and not for any other purpose, like hiking or going out into the wilderness or what have you. So anyway, let's take them out into the field and see how they perform. Okay, we are in a state park in Connecticut. This is pretty much an open area, so we're ready to test our GPSs. We're going to start with the newer GPS, the Garmin 64ST, and then we're going to work our way to the older GPSs, and we're going to see how they perform in this open area. Okay, let's turn on our 64ST, start the stopwatch. Okay, it took about 25 seconds to boot up. Okay, we're at the cache site right now. I'm not quite sure if you can see that, but it's saying it's about 3 feet away. In fact, now it's showing 1 feet from the... Oh, now it's going to 0. Okay, next is the Garmin eTrex. Okay, and we just locked in now. And it's approximately 40 seconds, just under 40 seconds. We're at the cache site again, and I walked around a few times just trying to let this settle down. I did have 8 feet for a point, trying to get a little better. Okay, next up is the Magellan Triton. We'll blue her up. Okay, and it looks like, yep, it's acquired satellites. So that took approximately about 35 seconds. Okay, we're back at the cache site once again with the Magellan Triton, and that is showing 6 feet. Okay, next on the chopping block is the Garmin Gecko 201. Yeah, it looks like we have a lock, so that just took just under 35 seconds. Okay, we're back at the cache site now with the Magellan Gecko 201, and currently we're showing just over 6 feet. Okay. Now we're ready to turn on the Cobra 1000, and we have a lock, and that took, once again, about 35 seconds. Okay, we're at the cache site with the Cobra 1000. It's been bouncing around quite a bit. I did actually get it to about 1.2 feet actually at some point, but now we're bouncing around between 5 and 8 feet, 9 feet. So clearly this is having trouble with an accurate reading. Okay, next up is the Magellan Sport Track, and we have a lock. Okay, I have to take off 5 seconds because I delayed in hitting the enter button. So that was roughly about 38 seconds. Okay, we're at the cache site now with the sport track and it's showing 9 feet. Okay, our next GPS is the Lowrance iFinder Go. Let's power up. Okay, we have a fix, and that was approximately, I would say, a minute 35 seconds because it had a fix and I wasn't 100% sure if it was locked in or not, but it was. So about a minute 35 for the Lowrance iFinder Go. Okay, I'm at the cache site with the Lowrance iFinder Go, and we're currently showing about 75 feet, and that's about the best I can do with this at the moment. It's picking up about 4 satellites. It only has a 2D fix, so it really is struggling even under these pretty good conditions. Okay, next up to bat is our Magellan 315. Okay, it looks like it took us 2 minutes, just 2 minutes for a fix on the Magellan 315. Okay, we're here now with the Magellan 315 and we are showing 15 feet. It's appropriate. Okay, next up is the Magellan Blaze 12. Okay, yep, we've got a lock now on a Blaze 12 and that was approximately 55 seconds. Okay, we're at the cache site now with the Magellan Blaze 12 and we're approximately about 12 feet away. And we are showing 0.00 for distance. Unfortunately, the Blaze 12 does not convert to feet once it gets within 1/10 of a mile. So it's difficult for us to determine how far away we actually are. It could be up to 52 feet. However, what the best thing to do with this GPS is to go over to the screen with the actual coordinates. But however, there's still a problem with that, which I will go into a little more detail at the end of this video. Okay, next up is the Lowrance Global Map 100. Okay, we have a fix, and that was approximately 20 seconds. Okay, now we're at the cache with the Lowrance Global Map 100 and it is showing 7 feet. Okay, next up is our Magellan 3000. Okay, the Magellan 3000 has been searching for satellites now for 10 minutes and with no luck. So I'm going to put this to one side and just continue with the... For the Magellan 3000, it's been approximately 25 minutes and it's still trying to acquire satellites. Looks like it's picked up 2. So we're going to abandon this one for today. Our final GPS for the day is our oldest, and that's the Garmin 45. Okay, we have a fix, and that took approximately 40 seconds. Okay, last one for the day. We're at the cache site now with the Garmin 45. It's showing 0.01. When I first put the GPS down, it was actually showing 0.00. Which once again, like the Blaze 12, this does not convert down to feet once it gets within 1/10 of a mile. So you'd have to flip over to the coordinates themselves to figure out exactly how close you are, because even at 00 you could still be just over 50 feet away. Once again, I'll go into a little more detail on this at the end of the video. We're at our second site now. This is a partially opened area. We do have trees with leaves on in the perimeter, but we have a clear shot of the sky above. So once again, we're going to do our test. We're going to test all 12 GPSs. and I will once again time them to see how quickly they will acquire these satellites. I won't show that on video to save time, but I will report that, and then I will take the GPS to the cache and see how accurately they record the distance from the cache location. So here we go. Okay, we're at the cache site now, and once again we're going to start with the newest GPS, that's the Garmin 64ST, and work our way through to the older GPSs. This is actually bouncing around a little bit. When I first got to the cache site I had 17 feet, now we're actually up to about 25, 26 feet. So I'm going to go with 17 feet because, I say, that was the original recording that we had. Okay, we're back at the cache site again now with the Garmin eTrex, and we are showing 18 feet. We're back here again now with the Magellan Triton, and we are showing 19 feet. Okay, we're on deck now with the Garmin Gecko 201, and we're showing 19.1 feet. Oh, no, actually we just dropped down to 17.9, so 18 feet. Okay, we now have the Cobra 1000. It's been trying to acquire satellites now for over 9 minutes, and it really is struggling, so we're going to put this one down as a no-show. Okay, we're back at the cache now with the Magellan Sport Track, and we're showing 19 feet. We're here now with the Lowrance iFinder Go, and it's been close to 9 minutes, and we still do not have a fix on satellites, even though it's showing that it's picking up 5. But anyway, we're going to give this one a no-show. Okay, this is proving to be a difficult area because now we have the Magellan 315, and this is also struggling to pick up satellites. It's been acquiring for over 10 minutes now, and we're not showing one satellite being received. For a split second it did pick up 3, and then it dropped it just as quickly as it picked it up. We're here now with the Magellan Blaze 12, and we're actually reading pretty good coordinates here. There is a problem with this particular GPS, which I will explain later on at the end of this video, but we're showing, I'd say, roughly about 22 feet off. Okay, we're back at the cache now with the Lowrance 100, a Global Map 100, and we are showing 8 feet. Very impressive for this age GPS. We're here now with the Magellan 3000, and it's been trying to acquire satellites now for about 10 minutes, and unfortunately it's only been able to pick up 1, which is not a surprise based on the performance of some of the other GPSs I've had in this area. We're here with the oldest and the final GPS, our Garmin 45, and we're actually showing 0.00 of a mile distance, which actually could still be about 52 feet off. Once again, I will explain the downfalls of this particular GPS at the end of this video. So we're at our third location now, and it's a completely wooded area with a canopy of leaves. So we're going to see how each GPS performs in this location. What I will do is I will report to you how long it takes each GPS to lock into the satellites, and then I will videotape the GPS at the cache site to see how it performs there. Okay, we're at the cache site now with the Garmin 64ST, and we're showing 23 feet. I did get it as low as about 17, but about 17 feet is the best I can do. Okay, we're back at the cache site now with the Garmin eTrex Vista, and we're showing 18 feet. And we've let it sit for a little while, and that's about the best we can do. Magellan Triton, and actually it was showing 19 feet, and that's back to 22 feet. It did actually flip to about 16 feet just before. And we're back here now with the Garmin Gecko 201, and we're showing 10 feet, 10.1. Okay, we're here with the Cobra 1000. On the way here I had trouble getting it to stay locked on the satellites. It lost satellites twice, and now it's showing about 115 feet. I think it went as low as about 105 feet. But that's about as close as I could get with the Cobra 1000. We're back at the cache site now with the Magellan Sport Track, and we're at 37 feet. We did have about 34 feet, but that was about the best we could do. Okay, we're here with the Lowrance iFinder Go, and we're about 30 feet off, 32 feet off. Okay, we're back at the cache site now with the Magellan 315. It took a little while. It was hovering about 30 feet for about a minute or so, but now we're down to 14 feet. So given a little time, this one looks like it's performing. Okay, now we are back with the Magellan Blaze 12, and it's reading 0.01 of a mile, which is approximately about 58 feet. As I mentioned before, this GPS does not read in feet once it gets within 1/10 of a mile of the cache. So at that point you have to change the screen over to the coordinates and follow the coordinates to see if you can actually get within several feet of the cache. But this did zero out approximately 20 feet away on the way to the cache. And now we have the Lowrance Global Map 100. And it's actually showing an impressive 9 feet from the cache, and it was pretty much stable on the way here, and it really didn't fluctuate a great deal once we got to the cache site, so good for that one. Okay, we're here with the Magellan 3000, and I'm still trying to get a lock on satellites with this one, and it's been 11.5 minutes coming up to 12. And it looks like it has a lock just on one satellite after 12 or close to 12 minutes, so we're going to say this one's a no-go. Okay, our final GPS is the Garmin 45, the oldest GPS we have. It took quite a while to acquire satellites, and I just got very within maybe 40 feet of the cache, and then it dropped the satellites, and as you may be able to see it on there, it says poor coverage, so we're not getting any real reading at all. I think on the way here I got to 0.01 of a mile, and say then it just dropped out completely. Okay, the exercise is complete and the results are in, and I do appreciate you sticking around. Three things I just want to cover before we go into the final results. The first thing is I recognize that on each location that the coordinates that I used were the coordinates that were shown on the cache site. And they're only as good as the recordings that the cache owner was able to record when he placed the cache. So if a GPS is showing it's off by 10 feet, it doesn't necessarily mean that the GPS is incorrect. It's just that it's different than what the cache owner actually recorded on the particular day he took his readings. The second thing I want to mention is going back to the Magellan Blaze 12 and the Garmin 45. As I mentioned to you, unlike all the other GPSs, once the GPS gets within 1/10 of a mile of your final destination or your waypoint, it will convert to feet. Unfortunately, the Blazer 12 and the Magellan 45 do not do that. They will actually go to 1/100th of a mile or 0.01 of a mile, which represents approximately 52 feet. So the problem there is once you get you have to get beyond the 52 feet for it to finally record 0 on the GPS or 0.00. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually at the cache site. It just means that you're within 52 feet of that particular cache location. So you could be recording 00 on those two GPSs, but still be approximately 50 feet off. So that's one of the problems with the Magellan Blazer 12 and the Garmin 45. Okay, the other problem that we have with the Magellan Blazer 12 is entering the coordinates. Let's say, for instance, you go onto the cache site, or the website, I'm sorry, and you look up a cache, and the first set of coordinates may be 41 degrees, 29.634 minutes. So that's taking you down to 1,000th of a minute. The Blazer 12, unfortunately, will not allow you to do that. It will only allow you to enter 100th of a minute. So in that particular case, you could only put in 41 degrees, 29.63 minutes. So now you're leaving off the third digit, which represents 1,000th of a minute. And each thousandth of a minute in this area is approximately about 5 feet. So if you're missing the last digit, which is a 4, you're actually going to be off 20 feet with that particular example. So for that reason, the Magellan Blazer 12 is not a great GPS. Okay, the third thing I want to discuss is geocaching actually was created in the year 2000. So any GPS made prior to the year 2000 certainly didn't have geocaching in mind. Most of those GPSs were made for nautical use, where they were in wide open spaces and on the water, obviously. And as far as the accuracy is concerned, if you're using a GPS then and you need it to get back to your, let's say, destination, which is your dock or your mooring, if it can get you within 100 feet of that or 50 feet, that's kind of getting the job done for you, but it's not really getting the job done for you as far as geocaching purposes are concerned. So keep that in mind also. All right, so let's go to our results, and let's have a drum roll, please.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Okay, that's not quite the drum roll I was hoping for. All right, so here's our final results. Now, what I ended up doing was basing it on points. I gave, for each location, each of the 3 locations, I gave 12 points for the GPS that was the most accurate, and I gave 12 points to the GPS that locked into the satellites the quickest. And it was a scale going from 12 down to 1, so the worst GPS would only get 1 point. And I did that on all 3 locations, so the maximum points any GPS could get would be 72 points. All right, so our winning GPS is going to surprise you, hopefully, was the Lowrance 100. And that earned 66 points. And that was built in somewhere in the mid-1990s. It was very accurate. It stayed it locked in quite well and performed very well. Our second on our list was the Garmin 64 ST. Now that's no surprise. That got 57 points. Our third was the Gecko 201 with 53 points. Our fourth was the eTrex, and that earned 52 points. Our fifth was the Magellan Triton with 49 points. Our sixth was the Magellan Sport Track with 43 points. Our 7th was the Cobra 1000 with 39 points. Our 8th was the Magellan 315 with 38 points. Our 9th was the Magellan Blazer 12 with 35 points. 10th was the Garmin 45 with 24 points. And 11th was the Lowrance iFinder Go with 21 points. And finally, the last GPS was our Garmin 3000 with 12 points. Now, what is mostly not surprising is the fact that apart from the Lowrance 100, which came in first place, beyond that, pretty much it went from the newer GPSs down to the older GPSs. Now, what I thought I would do also is show you the results of how quickly the GPS is locked in, and also how the results of the ones that were most accurate. Because it may not be a concern to you that it takes 2 or 3 minutes for a GPS to lock in, as long as it's accurate once it's up and running. So just for the lock-in time, the quickest was the Lowrance again, 100, followed by the Garmin eTrex, followed by the Garmin 64 ST. Now keep in mind, with the 64 ST, that has far more data that it's downloading when it locks into the satellites. It's actually locking into approximately 24 satellites. So it's understandable that GPS will take longer to lock in compared with other GPSs. Anyway, 4th was the Sport Track. 5th was the Triton. 6th was the Gecko 201. 7th was the Cobra 1000. The 8th was the Magellan Blazer 12. 9th was the Magellan 315. 10th was the Garmin 45. 11th was the Lowrance iFinder. And 12th was the Magellan 3000. The Magellan 3000, as you know, was unable to lock into satellites. I have used it before, and it has locked in before, but on these 3 occasions, that had a lot of problems. The iFinder was once again, that was difficult for locking in satellites as well. All right, the third category was obviously the distance. How accurate were the GPSs, or how well did they perform once they got up to the cache site itself? Once again, the Magellan, well actually the Magellan 64 ST and the Lowrance 100 were tied with 31 points each. So they were both the most accurate or the most reliable once it got to the cache site. Followed by the Garmin Gecko 201, the Magellan Triton, the Magellan 315, the Garmin eTrex, the Magellan Sport Track, the Cobra 1000. The Cobra 1000 was very unreliable. I know in the final results it came in 7th. That's only because it really, well, on the first sight it went down to 1 foot, but only for a second, and it went back up again. So it's a very unreliable GPS. It just does not hold the satellites very well at all. Anyway, 9th was the Magellan Blazer 12. 10th was the Lowrance iFinder Go. Once again, that was very unstable. I would not recommend that GPS. The Garmin 45, that was fairly stable, but not quite as accurate as I would like it to be. And once again, finally, was the Magellan 3000. because it didn't lock in, I had no way of saying how accurate it was. It just was not a GPS to use. Anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate you sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Final summary is, yeah, you know, if you want a GPS that is good for geocaching and you don't want to spend a lot of money, yeah, any one of these, except obviously the Cobra 1000, stay away from that. Stay away from the Blazer 12. Stay away from the Lowrance iFinder Go. The Garmin 45, yeah, it can work, but it's a little more difficult. And certainly stay away from the Magellan 3000. All the others, yeah, they're great. And once again, the Magellan 64 ST, yeah, that has a lot more sophisticated mapping on it, a lot more data, a lot more features that you can use. So definitely, if that's what you're looking for, that is obviously a great GPS. But if you're looking for something cheaper, yeah, the others will serve it. Will do your job for you. Cheers, thanks, and see you next time. Yeah, I know, it's heavy. It's heavy. It takes 4 AA batteries, but hey, it got the job done. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Finally, leave some comments. Let me know what GPS you use and what's your favorite. Cheers. Bye-bye.